Welcome to the Asset Mindset Podcast, where we don't wait for opportunities, we create them. I'm your host, Daniel Fielding, former Green Beret and author of the Asset Mindset, life coach and speaker. But enough about me. Today we have a special guest, Geoff Dardia. Geoff, why don't you introduce yourself to the folks?
Hey, what's going on? Geoff Dardia. I just freshly retired this year out of Special Forces. Did 22 years in the teams and been working the health and wellness space for a long time. Avid mountain biker, skier, surfer, outdoors guy. So, I never got into health and wellness as a kid. That wasn't like what I thought I was going to be into. But here we are. So we can talk about that. Yeah.
Well, in each episode, we dive into like mindsets, habits, and mission-driven thinking that turn everyday people into high performers, like yourself, obviously, all the years you've done and served in our regiment. Talk to me about this transition. Like, when did you first have the transition? Like, hey, I got to get into health. When did that happen?
I actually started when I was getting out of the Navy. Health kind of forced me to learn about it. I was 21 years old, a few weeks from graduating buds, got medically discharged out of the Navy. And I was like, okay, what happened? And I was like, I'm not invincible. There's things that can happen to us. And I better start paying attention because to be in that type of career field, you've got to learn how to maintain yourself. And that wasn't really being taught at that time. So I had to figure it out to get myself back in the military and get myself past the 20-year mark in SF. And that's where it all started. And then let's fast forward back to 2007 timeframe. My health started tanking again pretty significantly, and I had to apply everything I learned from my failure in the Navy to myself as a Green Beret, and got myself past the 20-year mark. End up doing 22 as a Green Beret. So
Well,
that's
thank
how
you
it
for your
started.
service, brother. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
22 years is a long time doing that type of work. So I
yeah,
get it. I was cool for a short period of time. You did it for decades.
yeah.
But let's dive deeper into this health journey. So you're saying, all right, you knew you had to take care of your health and take care of your body if you wanted to keep moving forward. What did you do? What did you change?
So I mean, it came down to I was dragging around a dead body. I couldn't figure it out why I had everything going the way I wanted it to go, and all of a sudden it was just like I had to force myself to live. And I was like, this is not right. I've got to figure this out. Because when you go to the doctors, all they want to do is throw pills at it. They want to manage the symptoms. And I was like, no, I want to be an optimal performer. To make it in this career field, you have to be super competitive and perform at a high level, not just a good enough level. And so I started doing the research. Uh, you know, you ask anybody that's been through this type of journey, it's not, it didn't come from the top down of figuring these things out. Our community figured it out from within. So I just started diving in the books. Everything I did as a Green Beret, applied it to health and wellness. And I started looking at the why. It was just like doing, an area study, country study, or an IPE. I just focused everything on in the environment, which was the first off imperative, right? Understand the operational environment. So that's what I did. I took all those principles and frameworks and applied them to health and wellness. And it came down to identifying and the environment you're in, what type of threats are in there, how's it going to affect the operational environment, the ability to operate in that environment, and then develop control measures, just like risk management, implement controls to protect myself from the things I identified in the environment. And that came down to toxic exposures, blast overpressure, chronic stress, sleep deprivation, um, failed relationships, high op tempo, all those things were there, operating under a microscope all the time, hierarchical stress. No one talks about that one. But it was just like, okay, all these things have known effects. I don't have to do a study to tell you that breathing in probable and known human carcinogens can increase your risk of cancer. So I was like, if we're in this environment, that environment's in us. So I just started doing the testing, looking at hormone levels, looking at heavy metals, sleep study, looking at neuro testing for like binocular vision disorder, vestibular, auditory processing, all those things. And when all the tests started coming back poorly, I was like, okay, there's something to this. I'm not the only one. If all these other people in the same environment, they're going to have similar types things. That's when the whole operator syndrome thing came out. I started that journey like heavy in 2009. By 2011, I was really going head first into this thing. 2012, I finally got up to NICO, got all these things looked at, and then got myself fixed, and then went back and did 4 more deployments. And then, got to a point where my health couldn't keep up. I went to Africa, got a bunch of parasites, got some blood clots, all kinds of weird things started happening to me. And then I was like, okay, man, we better pump the brakes. I've made it past the 20-year mark. I can slow things down. And that's when I dove in on the military side of things, of helping stand up some programs, the Human Performance and Wellness Program and the Meta Transition Program. My command knew what I was doing with Task Force Stagger outside the military. We're like, hey, man, take care of the dudes. That was Colonel Nate Prussian. Was like, we need to do something. And he gave me the opportunity. My commander, Mike Salazar, were like, hey, dude, no one's going to fuck with you anymore. Just go do this thing. We got your back. And, that was the best way to end my career, being able to give back to the community. That was my dream, to always do it as a uniformed soldier, not some guy out, from a computer on social media with Task Force Dagger trying to fix the community. I wanted to do it from within the community. That was my goal. And so I got to end my career on that note.
Wow, what a way to go out on a high note, and doing
Yeah.
what you love and helping the regiment and your brothers.
Yeah.
Because that is, I think people don't realize the depth in which that is a part of us.
Yeah.
Helping our brothers, looking out for them, watching out for them, setting them up for success, not failing for them when you're downrange. Like that's, I know for me and all the guys, that was the greatest fear. I wasn't worried about getting ourselves killed. It was doing something stupid or missing something that would get your buddy killed. And you're taking care of them on a whole nother level. I love it. So we've identified these problems. Let's get into the how to fix it.
So first way to solve any problems, identifying the problem correctly. So that goes into diagnostics, knowing what to look for. I talked about TBI, toxic exposures, blast overpressure. There's plenty of programs out there now. Back in 2009, not so much. Then when NICO stood up in 2011, we actually had some programs where you could send people through, but it comes down to assessing and diagnosing, right? Look at any system in the military, there's always a continual assessment, right? Whether it's mission analysis, MDMP, you're always analyzing the terrain, you're always analyzing the situation as it develops, but we weren't doing that with us. And it comes down to putting operator maintenance on the schedule. So if we know we're going into a horrible operational environment that's full of all these things, why not put something on the schedule to look at it? And that's what we did with Task Force Stagger. We put the operator maintenance in there. We put the advanced diagnostics in. So it goes to blood biomarkers, goes to cognitive testing. It goes to, looking how your metabolism's working, how your body's producing hormones, because all those things show how you're adapting to your environment, right? So if you look at allostasis, this is like allostatic load, we're talking operator syndrome. Allostasis is the ability to change and adapt to any situation you're in. And you do that through hormones and neurotransmitters. So without asking you a single question, I can look at your hormones and neurotransmitters to see what levels they're at, to see if you're bouncing back from your environment, if you're resilient psychologically or physiologically. It's that easy. So without doing a stupid post-deployment health assessment or any type of questionnaire, I can look at blood biomarkers right away and tell you, yeah, is your testosterone at healthy levels? Because if it's not, guess what you're not doing? Rebuilding and repairing. Is your cortisol in the single digits? Because if it is, you're exhausted, you're not bouncing back psychologically or physiologically. If I'm looking at insulin and A1C and all these things and inflammation markers, is my body healthy or is it fighting something? It's that simple. And why wouldn't we do that? Your car has onboard diagnostics, right? Check engine lights. Those things come on. They're supposed to tell you, hey, there's a problem. Go do something about it. And what do we do in conventional medicine? We put tape over the check engine light with a prescription med, and we manage the symptoms, and we continue driving down the road, pretending nothing's wrong. And all of a sudden, poof, the wheels fall off. And that's what was happening to us as operators, is that, hey, you get an entry physical at MEPS, you go into SFAS, you get another physical. And then after that, it's if you go to a dive team or Halo team, you get a flight and dive physical. And if not, it's over 40 and a separation physical. Humans are more important than hardware, right? Okay. So if we know these things, if we know we're in a high threat environment, why wouldn't we put those labs in place? Why wouldn't we do it at regular interval, just like PMCS? And why wouldn't we have a program in place to put operators in internally without having to send them to NICO, to STAR, to PrEP, and home base and all these other programs? Why aren't we doing it in-house? I mean, it's that simple. So again, this environment's never going to change. It's going to get worse. How we go into that environment depends on what type of knowledge we have, right? That's where intelligence preparation, the environment comes in. Understanding what I'm getting into and having controls in place to protect myself, force protection. So that's how I developed the education curriculum to go along with that, force self protection, understanding the operational environment. That's what I called it. So I just applied all my education to the first soft truth and the first soft imperative. Humans are more important than hardware. Put the checks and services in, PMCS for the operator, and then understand the operational environment, educate people about the known threats that they're going into, whether it's burn pits, air pollution, infectious diseases, all the heavy metals, blast overpressure, sleep deprivation, chronic stress, traumatic stress, all those things, and normalize it. Okay, we understand this is part of the operational environment. We got to do something about it. We can't keep playing dumb. So that's it. I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but it's really that simple.
All right. So we've identified the problem. Now let's talk about treatment.
Yeah. So treatment, well, where do you want to start? Traumatic brain injury, right? The brain, just like any other tissue in your body, when you injure it, there's an inflammatory response. So to treat brain injury, you have to address neuroinflammation. You can do that through proper nutrition, sleep, hydration, in taking antioxidants. Sleep's one of the biggest one because that's what clears. Deep sleep is what helps clear all the
Mm.
damage, the free radicals, oxidative stress out of your brain at night. And then guess what you don't want to do with brain injury? Drink alcohol, put poison in your body, and keep re-injuring it, right? So sleep right off the bat for traumatic brain injury, nutrition, supplements, proper rest and recovery, not overtraining, and then sunlight, getting outside, sweating, exercising, blood flow. That's one of the most critical things for the brain is blood flow and oxygen. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy, you, high dose omega-3s, N-acetylcysteine. Like I'm just going off basic things. And that's a protocol. You can bring Mike Lewis on the podcast and he can talk about it. He's got a whole book about it, but brain health is everything. That's what controls everything else. Your brain and your nervous system control how you bounce back psychologically and physiologically. So if the brain and the nervous system are in dysfunction or damage, guess what you're not doing? Bouncing back psychologically and physiologically the way you need to be. What are the two leading causes of death in our community? Cancer and suicide. Cancer, not bouncing back physiologically. Suicide, not bouncing back psychologically. That simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true, man. So true. I want to touch in because you brought it up, and I think a lot of guys do this, and I'm even guilty of it myself at times. When my lower back was really bothering me, hey, a few shots of whiskey, hey, I feel a little better. You know,
Yeah.
let's talk about alcohol and self-medication and
Sure.
really how detrimental that is to the body and the mind.
Yeah. I mean, right off the bat, it's a group one known human carcinogen, just like asbestos, right? Or cigarettes. It's known to damage your DNA. It causes oxidative stress and mitochondrial dysfunction and DNA damage. It's poison. And through marketing, we make it look like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But it really, if you put a label on alcohol and said, yeah, this is skull and crossbones, group one known human carcinogen, and this is what it does to you psychologically and physiologically, are people going to stop? No, because people are vaping and doing dumb shit still. But at least you know right up front. Like if I told the average pipe hitter, hey, this damages your DNA. They're like, yeah, nerd, shut up. Like what? They don't give a shit about that. But if I said, hey, look, it kills sexual function, it hammers down your testosterone, it, increases your risk for cancer, makes you run slower, makes you think slower, reactive times are inhibited. Like if you can go in and show it, I used to call it the bedroom in the battlefield. With an operator, you show them how it affects you in the bedroom in the battlefield. That's it. All I needed to know.
Mm.
Makes me better in bed, better in combat. And people pay attention because testosterone was the biggest hot button in soft because of those reasons. There's a reason dudes were risking their entire career to bring steroids back from overseas or go to Mexico and get them because they had to keep pace. They had to stay on a team. They had to stay operational ready. And you need anabolism to do that. You need to be able to repair and build, not just constantly repair, but you have to build and be stronger to go into that environment prepared. And why would we demonize that and say, oh, it's performance enhancing? Like, we'll talk about that. But alcohol is performance degrading right off the bat. Bedroom in the battlefield is going to hurt you in both. It's a tool. Not too many people just drink. Oh, it tastes delicious, right? I'm not a beer drinker. It tastes like fucking piss water. But it's like, if why would you do it? Why? Because it takes the edge off, helps you relax, gets the hamster wheel to slow down in your thoughts. It's a compensatory tool. It's to help you calm down, ramp down, fall asleep, and not stay asleep. But it takes the edge off. And if you work in a high threat, high stress environment, or came from an adverse childhood, and all your nervous system knows is to, hey, when's the hammer going to drop? Of course, you're going to turn to substances to manage that. It doesn't mean you're broken, doesn't mean you're weak. It just means you're trying to survive. And that's alcohol is a survival tool. And until you give someone else a better tool or technique, that's what they're going to default to the easy button, which is go to the class six, pack up the car and go home and do what you need to do so you don't friggin' murder somebody. That talk never happens. We institutionalize alcohol. We drink when people do good things. We drink when people die. We drink, when you retire, drink when you graduate Q course. It's institutionalized to do those things. Is it fun? Yeah, I'm not going to lie, but it's what can we do that's better than that? Until as it's not a military problem, as a society, it's people are catching on. Alcohol sales are plummeting right now because they know it's poison. They know it destroys your body, especially the brain. You went back to brain health. Alcohol, there's no safe amount. It destroys your brain. Not trying to be the fun police, but if you're going to talk brain health, alcohol and brain don't mix. There's other things you can do recreationally to help your brain, and we can talk about those a little bit. But yeah,
No, that is, I think, so important because I do think, like you said, young guys or people in general, they're like, oh, it's no big deal. Everybody's doing it. We're having fun. But if you actually look at the data and what you're doing to yourself, and I love how you're like, hey, bedroom and battlefield. Talking about perfect for an operator, like, yeah, you want to be badass on the battlefield, you want to be badass in the bedroom. Like, and what?
yeah,
I'm gonna not be badass, or I'm not gonna be as good as I could be.
yeah,
So I think presentation is so important, not just saying, oh, something is bad. So I
yeah,
like how you shared that, and I think people are gonna get a lot from that. So
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
And
It
I'm proud
applies
of
to.
your work you're doing.
Oh, thanks. I would say it applies to everybody, not just the military. Everybody. All this information is not just special operations, not just military, but it applies to everybody. Once you understand this stuff, it's like, well, why was I doing that? Like, it was one of my biggest regrets after learning all this is like, I would have never drank as much as I did as a young teenager into adulthood. It's the only thing I would have changed. But that's about it, man.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. I'm like, man, if I was smarter when I was younger, how smart would I be now? Like, if I didn't abuse myself so much, I think
Yeah,
I'm doing pretty good for 50, like, I'm
yeah,
doing all right, but boy, I could be doing that much better. But you
yeah,
know what? We're here now, and it's about today and moving forward.
yeah.
So you talked about replacing it with something else. What have you found, or what do you suggest replacing it with?
So the easiest way to calm the nervous system down is to learn how to say no to things. You know, in our population, people don't say no, and we task saturate ourselves. We're used to no white space and all these things, but it honestly comes back down to slowing down and getting outdoors, getting in nature, get away from your cell phone, get on a mountain bike, get on some skis or surfboard, and just do something that's mindful. Right? It's one of the most it's a new term. It's really not a new term. It's how we lived before technology and all this dumb shit that got thrown on us. But it goes back to simplifying. And if you have unresolved trauma that's driving the urge to drink and the anxiety and the not feeling safe and the not feeling good enough, you're always going to have the urge to do it. So it goes back to emptying the ruck. What is driving me to drink? Where are these feelings and this anxiety coming from? Go to the root cause. And once you start addressing the roots of what's driving you to drink, guess what? The urge to do starts happening. It starts to lessen. And you're like, I don't need to. You got to build a life you don't want to escape from, right? Like, if you can do that, you don't need to use a tool to escape from your reality. Easier said than done in today's world. But it's like, we come from craziness as kids, then we get thrown into this mix in chaos again, and then we leave that environment and try to go home and be a schoolboy. doesn't really work that well. No one teaches us how to transition and shift gears, right? I always bring everything back to automotives. There is no brake throttle modulation in our community, and anything worth doing is worth overdoing. And so we are always on the gas pedal. We are always on the go. And the only way to keep pace with that lifestyle is to modulate with substances or women. I always say, in the absence of chaos, we find it or create it in jobs, hobbies, and women. High risk, fire and ice, adrenaline, cortisol. If you're used to that at a young age, it's going to transfer to everything you do as an adult.
No, but well said. That just makes me think about all the stuff, I've gone through. I'm sure the listeners are in their own minds like, yeah, no, this and that, or you find yourselves in habits. I
Yeah.
think replacing something with something else. Take one habit, drinking. Instead
Yeah.
of drinking every time you have that urge, hey, this is kind of lame a little bit, but not really. Go read.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think the best thing to do is what you were saying is move.
Yeah.
Whether it's, hey, go for a bike ride. All right, it's at night, go down in the gym or do
Yeah.
something, activity. I just recently did an event with Simplify an American Fund, and we did painting. In the
Oh, yeah.
beginning, it was stressful, but afterwards it was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And look at that. And so
Yeah.
you can do other things. And I think that is such an incredible change that we can make. And you will notice that you won't miss it as much. For me, I know like working out, I have a gym in my basement now. Like if I'm feeling a certain way, just
Mhm.
go down in the gym and get the blood flowing. You mentioned that too. So let's dive into that. What does blood flowing, what have you learned about just getting your blood flowing do to the human body and someone's mindset?
So, I mean, right off the bat, think of someone who sits on a couch all day and does nothing except stare at their phone. What's happening metabolically in their body? Insulin resistance, right? If you're not putting good stress on the body, guess what happens with testosterone? You have to put stress on the body, acute stress, not chronic stress, not nonstop stress. But without that resistance, you're not going to build resilience. You need resistance to build resilience. But with blood flow, getting blood throughout the body, that's all your tissues, right? That's all your muscles. Think about arthritis and any type of like degenerative joint disease. Where you find arthritis, there's lack of blood flow. So through an injury or impingement or lack of blood flow, that's where you're going to see rampant inflammation and chronic inflammation and degeneration. Where there's increased blood flow in the body, your body can repair and rebuild. It can resolve inflammation. So just from a movement standpoint, you ask anybody that's got arthritis, when they don't move, they feel worse. Right? Think about that. You people like, hey man, like for me, my body's been banged up, but if I'm not out on my mountain bike riding all the time, I feel horrible. Like the more I move, the more I keep those joints moving. Big study just came out with arthritis and degeneration. Cyclists have better knees. You'd think it would be the opposite, right? Because they're always moving. But where there's blood flow and movement and lubrication, the joints are healthy. It's where they're not moving, where there's blood flow restrictions at any part in your body where there's hypoperfusion, lack of blood flow, you're going to see disease. You're going to see damage. You're going to see inflammation. So, exercise, I tell people, like, what do I do for toxic exposures? Hydrate, sweat, exercise in the sun. Like, that's the best thing you can do to clean your body out and repair, because that's how your body biotransformation gets rid of toxins and free radicals, is to get them out by doing the repair and sleeping, eating properly, and hydrating. But that's it. Movement. And if you don't move, guess what happens? Like you rust. Think of a car that sits in a field with grass growing underneath it. It's stagnant. Oxidization, which is rust. Think of yourself the same exact way. If you're stagnant, you're sitting in the field and you're putting things in your body or eating like salt on the roads, oxidative stress, you're going to inflammate. You're going to accelerate the aging process in your body. And the way to counter that is to be outside in the sun, exercising, eating properly, hydrating, basic stuff. Like everything before modern technology came around, we were doing that, working out in farms and fields and hunting and gathering. Like everything was there to balance, right? And we've gone away from that. Now it's being stuck behind a computer, sitting in a chair, typing all day, energy drinks, coffee. Like, we were not designed to be office dwellers. We were designed to be outdoors, moving, hunting, and gathering. So the further we go from nature, we're seeing the effects of that in health. Health, life expectancy is tanking in society, in this country specifically. We'll talk about ultra processed foods later, but we're having the opposite effect. As we're evolving and becoming, supposed to be becoming smarter, our health is declining, but it comes down to stress, stressors, the environment, the lifestyle, all the things that we're being bombarded with 24/7. That is all stress. So,
Yeah, I like to even simplify it like analogies as far as blood flow. Like circulatory system is bringing good stuff in and bad stuff out. If your
yeah,
blood's not flowing, you can't bring the good stuff in and the bad
yeah,
stuff out. Imagine
yep,
if the highway was shut down.
yeah,
You can't bring in new groceries, so the groceries that are sitting there are getting rotten and getting
yeah,
stinky garbage. Like, you got to get a truck, take that
yeah,
out, bring a new truck in. Like,
yeah,
your circulatory system, just getting your blood flowing is amazing.
yeah,
I was lucky. I learned that on a team from one of my teammates, Brian,
yeah,
and that for recovery purposes, I use
yeah,
it. I share it all the time. My wife gets sore sometimes from working out, and I'm like, the best thing you can do is get on that treadmill or do something
yeah,
and go work out a little bit. She's
yeah,
like, what? But I'm already sore. I'm like, trust
yeah,
me. Now she's a wholehearted believer in it because
yeah.
it works.
Yeah. Think of a car, right? You have an air filter and you have a fuel filter. And think of your body the same way. Your air filter, which is your sinuses, and you have the filter in your body, which is your lymphatic and glymphatic systems. And like you said, when you're stagnant, guess what doesn't flow out of that body? So think of colon cancer. Think of colon as like the dumpster in your body. If you're eating ultra processed foods full of things that cause oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, DNA damage, and they sit in those areas because your motility slow, guess what it's doing to all those cells where it's stuck, damaging them, right? So it's the same way. Like you said, you've got to flow lymphatic flush, glymphatic flush, sleep, and then obviously the big flush, pun intended, your digestive tract, right? Like your body's got everything a car does, and it's the easiest way to use the analogy. That's why I always use cars. I'm a car dude, but
Yeah.
it's pretty simple. And then, like I said, activity, being outside and moving, proper hydration, proper fueling, proper recovery. We always prioritize workout, but no one ever prioritizes recovery. Professional sports know that recovery is just as important as working out. We're getting there in the military now, finally figuring out. I can tell you, regular Army down the street at the 82nd, still running their dudes every single day with no recovery between running, and they can't figure why everyone has knee joint hip problems because there's no recovery. They're constantly breaking down, but here we are.
Yeah. No, I like what you do with the car analogies because they're a system. We're a system.
Yeah.
Everything has a purpose in our body. So you've mentioned food a couple times. I want to dive into this because I think a lot of people underestimate you are what you eat. That's the fuel for your car is what you eat. What are
Yeah.
you seeing is the biggest problems? And then how can people fix that?
Ultra processed foods right off the bat. I mean, finally, this information's mainstream now. Major studies have come out over and over, major lawsuits too. State of San Francisco suing the food industry right now because they were deliberately and knowingly putting things in our food that were causing diabetes, that were causing cancer, that were causing, you know what I mean, causing hormone disruption, endocrine disruption. These are knowns, and people have been saying this for years, but the food industry pays people to shut up and do studies that they get the results they want. But ultra processed foods, if you pick up anything in a bag or a box and you look at the ingredient list and it's fucking like the Declaration of Independence, it is not good for you, right? It is not. Your food should be food, ingredient, and apple's an apple, not preservatives, not waxes, not pesticides. And same thing with bread. It should be egg, flour, a little bit of sugar and yeast, right? And if you're looking at a package of bread and the ingredients list is this long, you know something's wrong. That's it. Ultra processed foods, think of it. The more processes they put into it, the more processes your body has to break it down and get rid of it. And you utilize it, right? When your body can't utilize a food source as fuel, what does it do? It slows metabolic function, right? So if you have all these ultra processed foods, what do you think is going to happen to metabolic function in the human body? Same thing. It's that simple. Ultra processed foods, one of the most degrading things to health. It's probably one of the biggest, epidemics in modern history as far as killing a population, besides stress, is the ultra processed foods. Hands down. The other one is pesticides and chemicals in the environment. Over 80,000 man-made chemicals in the environment, growing exponentially every year. And they're all endocrine disrupting, meaning they affect development. So think of a fetus developing, wondering why kids have Asperger's, autism and all these crazy things. Girls going through puberty at earlier ages, men looking more like women and acting like women, endocrine function, hormones. And if you look at any of these products, they're packed full of xenoestrogens and estrogen mimickers, and cause endocrine disruption, especially anything that ends with a side, herbicide, pesticide, any of the sides. That's their known mechanism of action, is to affect metabolism and hormone production. So good note on that one. The easiest one. That's why buying organic, you're getting pesticides, but they're not the chemical ones. They're natural, herbal, or some type of organic pesticide that's natural in nature, not man-made by Monsanto, who used to make Agent Orange, who is now Bayer, who is chemical weapons in World War II. Like, start connecting the dots on those things if you want. But yeah, man, it's that simple. If the ingredients are like this, stay away from it. You should have no more than like 3 or 4 ingredients on foods. So
Yes, and I like that you were talking about ingredients, because
yeah.
so many people get fooled by advertising. You
All
go
natural.
down the aisle that says, "Oh, this healthy whatever granola bar," and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to eat this granola bar." Flip
Yeah.
it over and look at the ingredients.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a list like this. It may say healthy or low fat or whatever the buzzwords are to get you to buy it.
Yep.
Look at the ingredients. That's the key. Don't look at the
Yeah.
labels. Don't buy into the advertising and marketing. Read the ingredients. And if you can't
Yeah.
pronounce the words,
Yeah.
there's probably a problem, because
Yeah.
most food is very simple.
Yeah. Goes back to, if you can't read it, don't eat it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Myself,
Yeah.
I do the carnivore diet. I eat like red meat, eggs, bacon, and that's about it. Like animal products, I don't get into all the other stuff because of toxins, oxalates, things that are out there, pesticides like you talked about. You think you're eating good, oh, I get this salad, but guess what? If you didn't
Yeah.
rinse things properly and all the spray and chemicals that's been put on there,
Yeah.
like it's incredible. So definitely, please, people, pay attention to what you put in your body,
Yeah.
because that old saying, "You are what you eat," is so true. And your car can't run if you put shitty fuel in it. If there's mixed with
Yeah.
water and other things, guess what? The engine's not going to fire right. And that
Yeah.
goes the same for you.
Yeah. I mean, look into seed oils. Look at all those things in your ingredients. Trans fats, they just renamed them all. Sweeteners, they renamed them. Aspartame, asulfame, all those artificial sweeteners are poison. So yeah, just learn how to read labels, get smart in those things. You can't avoid it now. It's everywhere. Even foods that are claimed organic, health foods and all these. If you see anything with natural flavor in it, it's not natural. It's chemicals. They're just calling it natural flavor, but they're artificial sweeteners and other things that are in them. So they're trying, this administration, especially with RFK in there, they're trying to get companies to actually label what those things are. It's a loophole. And so it's just marketing. It just goes back to alcohol and tobacco. Look at all the big food is owned by big tobacco. My dad worked for Nabisco for 32 years. When Nabisco was bought out by RJR Reynolds, which is a tobacco company, guess what happened to all the foods and all the marketing for the food? They pumped it full of chemicals deliberately to make it highly addictive. So once you start eating it, you couldn't stop. Consumerism. That's exactly what happened in the food industry, because that's who's running it. The chemical companies and big tobacco. And that's all coming out now. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's conspiracy. It's total bullshit." No, it's 1000% factual, and it's all coming to light now, and people are catching on really quick. So, the easiest way to do it is, if we've been overseas, right? The food we eat overseas is completely different from what we eat here. I can eat bread overseas and not get bloated and be gassy all day, because it's made with wheat that's not chemically engineered and full of pesticides. It's, made in an actual oven. Take bread that's whatever you want to call it, American bread, get it wet, squeeze it, and see what happens. So it's like a damn sponge. It's not the same material. Like, you want to look at the Oreos, people burning Oreos,
Oh,
or try to burn Oreos, or look at a McDonald's. You could take the same damn one from fucking 1990 and put it in a fucking closet and come back. It's the same exact thing. It's not full of mold. It's not rotting. It's the exact same form. What do you think's happening when it goes in your body? And so here we are.
yeah, exactly. Like if mold and fungus and bacteria can't process it, what makes you think you can? Like fifth principle of patrolling, right? Common sense. Let's use
Yep.
it.
That's exactly right, man. And that's, what do you think breaks down all your food in your gut? That's your microbiome. So guess what all those sides and chemicals are doing to the microbiome? That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I like the transition that I see going on in society with awareness of our food. I think for a long time, people just trusted that, oh, it's in the supermarket, it's safe. They do all kinds of tests or whatnot. Like, I don't care if this cereal has bright colors, it's okay. The dyes don't matter. They've been tested, and I'm glad people are taking ownership of their, health and their food. So while we're on that, let's talk about ownership. What do you think helps someone actually, because obviously operators, we love to take ownership of ourselves and do things, but say someone that's a civilian watching or listening, because the asset mindset isn't just for special forces. It's also out there, and you can be a regular civilian and have the asset mindset as well. But talk about ownership and taking ownership.
Okay. Like, think about owning a house. A lot of responsibility to own a house, for maintaining it, keeping it clean, making it presentable. Apply that to yourself. People will spend up to $1 million on a home, $100,000 on a car, go on all these expensive vacations, and then you tell them, hey, buy some healthy food and maybe some supplements. Oh, it's too expensive. I can't do that. Last time I looked, you can build a new house, you can buy a new car, you can get all those new things, but you can only get one of these. If that's anything I can tell, like, if you don't make time and investment into your health will make time for you, and you will be investing in it. It's going to be expensive as hell, because cancer is not cheap, right? Like, just think of that. Maintain yourself like you do anything else that you care about, that you own, because you're not going to get another one. That's the easiest way. And it goes back to, you were talking about how the food industry, look at the pharmaceutical industry, right? Like, we trusted it, we were told it's safe. Same thing. If you're relying, because the reason I'm going into this is because forever doctors are saying, eat whatever you want, just take these pills, take your cholesterol meds, take your insulin, whatever it is. They didn't tell them to adjust their lifestyle and optimize their environment. They were telling them to depend on the pharmacy, right? And if you do that, guess where you're going to be, right? They're going to keep you alive long enough to get every dime out of you, whether it's in the hospital or the pharmacy, but you are not the priority. It's not your health. It, it's the end state, right? It's protecting the investor, the stakeholder. That's where companies come in. They're protecting the shareholders, and that's it. And
Yeah, it's crazy, the healthcare system. Like my mother passed away of pancreatic cancer, and she was pretty far along, and they were like, "Oh, we can do this chemo and we can do this." And it was like, "All right, what's that going to do?" Well, you might get another 6 to 8 months of life.
yeah,
And my mother's like, "I've done chemo before when I had breast cancer, and I'm not putting my body, I felt like I was dying.
yeah,
And I know I'm going to die and we're all going to die, but I am not going to spend my last 6, 8 months of being miserable and being poisoned on top of feeling sick just to get a little more time." And I thought it was so weird how much it was being pushed, because I was her healthcare proxy and executor for,
yeah,
had power of attorney and whatnot. And they were pushing it so much. And I'm like, why are they doing this? Like, she's made her decision, and I'm like, it's got to be the money.
yeah,
It's got to be like, hey, we get all these treatments, and then that's so. It's amazing what greed can do,
yeah,
and it is in our healthcare system, which is sad.
yeah,
And that's where we have to take ownership of it ourselves. Just like you said, prime example, like you take care of your house, your home, your family. Well, guess what?
yeah,
Health is wealth. I know
yeah,
all of us, if we're alive right now and you're listening to this, there was a time in your life where you were so sick, you were in bed, your head's pounding or you're shaking or whatever, you're cramping. You're like, oh my God, I would pay anything. I don't care if it was 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever, to just be done with this. And you know what? That shows you right there,
Yeah.
your health is more important than what's in your bank account.
Yeah.
So don't be
Absolutely.
squirreling stuff away. Take care of yourself and spend the money that you need to be
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah. That's it, man. Like I said, individual maintenance plan. That's it. Yeah.
So, individual maintenance plan. What would you suggest someone that's now starting a health kick and is like, I've neglected my body, I haven't done anything right, I'm trying to get my mind right and physically right. Where would you tell them to start?
Monitoring, being aware, right? So getting an assessment. Working on a project right now to actually implement that with a couple of my pals. But I just did it myself again just to see where I was at, being in another high stress position since October. We'll talk about that later. But I just wanted to see where I was at because I know how my body's responding. I can feel it. My heart rate variability is one of the easiest things to monitor when it comes to that sleep and recovery, how I'm bouncing back. After I retired and I had a good op tempo with my job that I'm full time with now, and I had a lot of help, everything operating smoothly. Lost my right hand person and doing everything solo mio right now. My stress levels are significantly higher. It's affecting my sleep, my heart rate variability, my resting heart rate, metabolic function, and hormones. Looks like I was right back on a team as far as what's going on. And now I'm like, I just got to gut it out a couple more weeks till I get some new help on board. But it's monitoring. You have to know where you're at and where you should be, right? So if you look at conventional medicine, there's a mean. When you go to a reference range, it falls into it's like a huge upright. There's no age by optimal. Only in functional medicine and performance and lifestyle medicine is there an age and optimal. And the program that we're building is age and optimal. And when I look at it, I'm like, oh, compared to the 300-pound couch potato, I look okay when it comes to someone who's performing optimally and being an athlete. I am not okay. And it's like, shit, time to correct course immediately. Accountability. So knowing where you're at to where you should be. And you can do that through wearables. You can do that through blood work. You can do that through VO2 testing, some type of assessment. You need an assessment. And once you learn what the right looks like for your age and optimal, then you have a goal, something to work towards. But if you never have something to work towards, you're going to be stagnant. And so you need that assessment. So that's the biggest thing is the self-awareness part of knowing I should do this, and then the self-assessment part of going to get these things looked at. Once you do that, then the rest will fall into place. It's like operational approach, doing mission planning, right? Desired end state and a starting point. You can figure it out on the way. But if you don't establish those, where you're at right now, where do you need to be? You're not going anywhere. Basics.
No, I like that. And I like what you brought up too, as far as people need to realize the stats that are out there are
Mhm.
based off of people that are on a standard American diet or a sad
Yeah.
diet
Yep.
or living a life where they are not very active. They
Yep.
are sitting in the cubicle. So, okay, yeah, you might be normal for the average person, but if you're someone like you or an operator, an athlete, if you
Yep.
are in the normal range, well, you're not where you should be.
Yep.
That's not to knock normal people, but that's society right now. And as a
Yep.
society, we're sick. So don't think just because your doctor or somebody says, oh, yeah, you're in the range, it's okay. It might
Yep.
not be okay for you.
No.
You need to address and have self awareness of where you should be at, where you want to be at, and where you're going. So
Yeah.
it's very
If
important.
you look at testosterone, I'm glad you brought this up. If you look at the average mean of testosterone, that study that was used by the American Endocrinology Association was, I think it was in the Northeast. I think it was Pennsylvania or Philadelphia, that area. And they looked at all these people from like the age of 14 to 85. Most of them were obese, overweight, and that's what they used to calculate the average mean of testosterone. And so it used to be 300 nanograms per deciliter to 1100. The American male's testosterone level has dropped so significantly in a short period of time. They now have shifted the reference range to 250 to 800. Instead of addressing the problem of what's going on, why is this happening? We can spend a whole nother podcast on that. But yeah, there's a problem. And testosterone levels are dropping for a damn good reason. And it goes back to not bouncing back, not doing the physical activity that we should be doing, and not eating the proper things and breathing and drinking the proper things that are going into our bodies that are responsible for hormone production and balance. And that's, again, they're shifting the goalposts instead of identifying the problem. Because guess what? When you create a problem and then create the solution, you benefit off both. And that's what prescription drugs and ultra processed foods are. It's the problem and the solution owned by the same people. There's no incentive to get off that system because of the money. And that's what people are learning now. And the easiest way to shut that system down is to stop participating in that system. Get off the prescription drugs, get off the ultra processed foods, and then demand people produce high quality products. That's what we're starting to see right now. Thank God, because we're at a tipping point right now. Is if we don't correct course, we're going to have a population issue, not just in the United States, but across the globe because of cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, all those things. They're skyrocketing. And if you look at the curves for all those diseases, you look at the introduction of ultra processed foods and chemicals into our foods, into our environment, pesticides, herbicides, they all go in the same curve and go straight up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
incredible. But if you get to any rural people or rural populations, maybe like the Amish or other places that like grow their own food and are
Yeah.
from garden to gut, like
Yep.
they don't have those same statistics.
No,
I
imagine
wonder
that.
why.
Yeah.
It's incredible, but I am glad people are becoming more aware.
Yeah.
And I love that you're helping spread the word and what you're doing. Can you talk more about what it is you're doing so the audience knows and where they can get a hold of you if they're interested in supporting or being a part of what you got going on?
Yeah. So Task Force Dagger Special Operations Foundation, I got involved with them back in 2010, the end of 2010, and then was able to stand up the health initiatives program for them in 2011, going into 2012. Right when I came out of NICO, I'm like, this needs to be standard of care for everybody. So Task Force Dagger Special Operations Foundation serves all SOF, all branches, all SOF enablers, support personnel, and family members, right? And anyone
Mm.
assigned or attached. That means if you were downrange, you were attached with us on a mission, like an infantry uplift kid that was on one of our guns and you got wounded, you were covered, right? All we need is proof of that deployment, someone to vouch for you, we help you out. We don't care. It's not a post 9/11 organization. We've helped people all the way back Vietnam, Korean War, to get help, MACV-SOG guys. So we look at everything, right? Like it's a family-based organization. So we don't just help the operator, we help everybody in this community. And if there's someone that doesn't meet our charter, I'm partnered with multiple different organizations to help them as well. So just because you don't meet our charter, you don't qualify, doesn't mean I can't get you help. I do that every week with people. Hey, I was in the Marine Corps. I was in the Navy. This happened. I need to get help. I'll show them. I got a whole Rolodex of organizations that help those people. I'll connect with them on the spot. But, three core programs in the foundation, immediate needs. Most organizations do that, fill the gaps type stuff, whether it's medical equipment, cancer therapy, or something going on. We help financially to fill those gaps, whether it's transportation going up to Duke for cancer, a kid needs a helmet because of developmental issues like we talked about. That's one of our core programs. Then recreational adaptive events, mission, purpose, focus, identity, getting people after being wounded, ill, or injured back out doing stuff with their family, skiing, surfing, mountain biking, scuba diving, whatever it is, nature, get back outside, do something, get the blood flowing, get the adrenaline sometimes, get the mindfulness, get the calming effect. Most importantly, reintegrating with the family, coming back out of that environment, reintegrating with the family, seeing what they've been doing while you've been gone, vice versa. They get to learn about what you did when you were gone, mutual understanding, respect, appreciation, right? For both sides, for the spouses and the operators. And then the health initiatives program, that is the operator maintenance, the operator assessment program. That's exactly how I designed it. Head to toe, fully comprehensive, looking at everything in lifestyle and environment. TBI, toxic exposures, trauma, sleep, hormones, infectious diseases, everything. Providing people to resources, right? We're a node. I'm not providing medical care. I'm providing the connection to the appropriate programs. We have over 20 partnered organizations, core ones that we work with all the time. And, every day I'm connecting those people to those resources. Our foundation has a huge load. And we put over 1.2 million back in the community last year alone. We're set to hopefully double that within 5 years, but it's not slowing down. And we don't market this program. We're not out there telling people to come in the program. This is all word of mouth. People we've helped talk to other people to get them in. That's how we get 95% of our people. And then SoCon Care Coalition will refer to us, and then we get a bunch of referrals from our partnered organizations. So,
Man, I
yeah,
love the passion when you're talking about this. Like you can tell you care.
yeah.
And while we're on that, I want to dive into how important it is for whatever anyone's going through, transitioning, like you transitioned after retiring to now being in the civilian world, and you found a passion and purpose again, and how uplifting that is. Can you speak on people finding passion and purpose in their life and how that helps their mindset?
It's like a ship without a rudder. If you don't have that passion and that purpose, you're going to be lost. You're going to be floundering. Luckily for me, through tragedy and everything that happened to me at a young age, I found it early. I consider that a blessing. What I thought was my worst thing that ever happened in my life helped identify my passion and my purpose and my mission. For other people coming out of uniform, that's why in the transition program, it was 36 months out, because we understand there's a lot of people that tied their identity, their uniform, their mission, their purpose was what they did as an operator. I understood that because of what happened to me at a young age. I do a lot of work. That's why I do podcasts. That's why I do articles and stuff like that to help people that haven't found their purpose to get into programs that help that, like whether it's Honor Foundation, Commit Foundation, Special Operations Transition Foundation, whatever it is, to get them with like-minded people that, hey, I'm not alone, one, and I got to figure this thing out because I'm towing my family with me. And this isn't just a me decision. I've got to see what this is. And chances are, if you made it into this community, you've got a reason to be alive and to serve. And if you can take that same drive and that same mission and that purpose and focus and turn it into helping other people, because chances are, if you came in this community, it was to help other people, I would hope, is to help your brother and sister out that are faltering. Once you figure out, that's what in our program, I always tell people, once we help you, you're the next advocate. You're the next person to bring somebody else in. This is going to be solved from the bottom up, not the top down. We have to do this. And it's what we do. Everyone we help becomes the next advocate, the next spokesperson. And that gives them purpose. That gives them a reason to get up out of bed every day. And there's a bunch of my good friends that are in organizations running podcasts like this that are doing that on a daily basis. And that's making an impact. And that's what a way to live, right? If you know you can do that, that's it. It's how can you translate what you did in the military or as a first responder or whatever into helping other people, but not at the cost to you and your family. Learn how to balance that. That's it, man. Like, it's powerful.
It is powerful. Now, say
Yeah.
someone wants to get a hold of you and is curious after watching this episode, what's the best way to contact you?
LinkedIn. I also have the Soft Health Initiative Instagram page, the Soft Health Awareness Facebook page. There's a reason one was an awareness and one's an initiative. The Facebook page is what started everything, and I turned the awareness into initiative. But either through the Facebook page, LinkedIn, or Instagram, and I can give you all the links for those. But that's it. I keep my personal Instagram page private for a reason, but my Soft Health Initiative Instagram page is a good way to find me. And yeah, love to chat, love to help you out. If you're stuck, I'm a functional medicine certified health coach, trauma informed. I do this on a daily basis. So whatever you need, I'm glad to help. That's why I'm still alive.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for all you're doing and all the positivity you're putting out in the world. And listeners, please give us some positivity. Give us a little love. It costs you nothing. Like, subscribe, follow, and definitely share this podcast with others that you think could use the positive message that we got here. There's so many things that are going on in the world that are bad, but there's a lot of good things too. And you got to remind yourself of that and stay focused on the positive. Geoff, thank you for being here today. Thank you for all the work you're doing. I'm proud of you, brother. You're an inspiration to me and so many others. When you see your fellow brothers and SF guys doing great things, it only makes you want to do more great things. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you again for giving us your time today and sharing your message. And everybody out there, please don't forget, own your power.